Good morning once again. And I know what you're thinking. That's not Martin Kellner. It's not even Daryl Morris. No, it's me, Paul Ross, back on Talk Radio. I'm very pleased to be here. And I'm delighted to welcome our next guest, the maestro of all things movie-related, the man with a plan, the man called Van. It's Van Connor. Good morning, Van.
Good morning to you, Mr. Ross.
Now, we've got a trio of movies in what is sometimes a kind of quiet time, and they tend, I think, to release family-oriented films, don't they? Because they know it's that lull between Christmas and New Year, and you might want someone to take the younger members of the family. What have you got for us? I think you're starting with a film about which I know absolutely nothing, called Playing with Fire.
Playing with Fire is the latest family comedy to star John Cena. He turns up in a couple of things like Daddy's Home, for instance, but this is a lot more PG friendly. Interestingly, it shares a director with Dwayne Johnson's own version of this called The Game Plan, and the idea here is it's the muscle-bound action hero who's put in the sort of family-friendly role of being the protector of young children. In this case, he's a firefighter, rescues some isolated children, and he and his men have to guard them for the weekend. It's very broad and it's very slapstick. I've got a clip for you.
Here we go.
Put that down. No shenanigans on my watch.
Yeah, no monkey shines, tomfoolery, or hijinks.
You finished?
Long as there's not a hint of malarkey.
Oh. Now, if I didn't know any better, I would say that was sarcasm. So why don't we just take it down a notch, sister, okay? Maybe a little gratitude would be helpful.
Sorry, bud. We just don't speak oldsy times.
Oh, my gosh, but she's not stopping.
That does sound funny, actually. It sounded like nice and snappy and zappy and stuff. Did it make you laugh, then?
I did laugh. I got in on the charlotte, I have to admit.
When this kind of film's released, they must know it's only going to have a limited shelf life before it turns up on I don't know, for download, for DVD, if people still buy DVDs, for Netflix. But they never seem to stop churning them out, so there must be a market for this kind of comedy.
It does seem to be more popular than you'd think, but I think because they are spaced out decently. I did watch the film, and I did think to myself, it is strange I'm not watching this for the first time on Netflix. It did have that kind of feel, but you know what? Good old-fashioned 90s family-friendly fun.
It's almost as if everybody who's got kind of a six-pack and biceps and is an action hero-ish has to make a film like this, because Arnie made them. I think Vin Diesel was in, was it The Pacifier he made a few years ago? Yeah, and as you mentioned, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, is always, every other film of his seems to be family-oriented. So, actually, I wouldn't mind catching it. I might take my grandsons to see that one. That was Playing with Fire. And we're now going to go for, now this is based on Louisa May Alcott's brilliant best-selling novel, kind of proto-early feminist novel. It's been filmed, at least to my memory, 4 times before. There was even a lost British silent version, I think from 1917 or 18. It's been on TV, and it's Little Women. This is what, version 5 on the big screen, would you say, Van?
It feels like 5 or 6, definitely.
I remember my daughters loved in the 90s the Winona Ryder one. My mum and sister used to love it must have been late 40s, early 50s one with a very young indeed Elizabeth Taylor, and I think June Allison was in that as well. So is this set in the period of the kind of Civil War period of the States, or have they brought it up to date?
No, this is still the same setting, this is still the same location, it's just a re-adaptation, to be honest. It's the same story we know and love. In my case, I came into it through the Winona Ryder version, obviously just for age reasons.
Yep.
It's the same, but made for our time. So it becomes a teensy bit more meta and a little bit more, I don't know, kind of woke in a sense. I've got a clip for you of Florence Pugh giving her views on marriage.
Here we go.
I believe we have some power over who we love. It isn't something that just happens to a person.
I think the poets might disagree.
Well, I'm not a poet. I'm just a woman. And as a woman, there's no way for me to make my own money. Not enough to earn a living or to support my family. And if I had my own money, which I don't, that money would belong to my husband the moment we got married. And if we had children, they would be his, not mine. They would be his property. So don't sit there and tell me that marriage isn't an economic proposition, because it is. It may not be for you, but it most certainly is for me.
What's interesting about Little Women, I think, is even in the book, the central character, Jo, if that's her name, is largely autobiographical, and she becomes a writer, as we've heard there. So it's got that kind of, as you put it, meta element to it, even in the novel.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, this does jump between different time periods. I think it uses that as a mechanism to point the story in a little sharper a sense, but not quite in any real new direction. It does make it a little bit more convoluted than it needs to be, though. A little bit more difficult to follow at times.
You mentioned Florence Pugh. Who else is in this? Because it's a good kind of ensemble female cast, normally.
You've got Florence Pugh, Saoirse Ronan, Emma Watson, Laura Dern's the mum, Chris Cooper's the neighbour, Timothy Chalamet's the dreamboat.
Wow.
It is a belter of a... Oh, and of course, Meryl.
Of course, Meryl Streep. Almost compulsory to have Meryl in it. And let's end with Spies in Disguise, which I'm guessing is an animated movie?
So, new animated movie starring the voice talents of Will Smith and Tom Holland. And it's about the world's, suavest, slickest, most outstanding super spy, voiced by Will Smith, who is framed for a crime he didn't commit by a chameleonic terrorist. He's forced to go on the run, and he employs the talents of one of the sort of lab geeks and one of the Q division kind of characters to give him the ultimate disguise, which he does in the form of turning him into a pigeon. And I've got a clip for you. Literally waking up as a pigeon.
I would say coo, but listen to the clip.
Hey, it's okay. Don't you worry. Your good friend Walter is... Subject appears disoriented.
Of course I'm disoriented.
You can talk? Bubby, he can talk.
It worked. My eyes. It worked. What did you do to my eyes?
Hey, Lance, look at me.
Look at you? I can't not look at you, Walter. I can see my butt and your face at the same time.
That is so cool. Fact, pigeons have 360-degree vision. Now nobody can sneak up behind you.
Stop, girl. Come on.
This is so great. Pigeons can be found in every major city around the world, and no one notices them. It's the most perfect form a spy could take.
I mean, he probably has cloned himself. He's so busy, Will Smith. Is this a good animated movie?
I actually had a really good time with it. It was a lot more of a thrilling action adventure than I actually expected. Once you get past how absolutely absurd the whole turning into a pigeon thing is, it actually is a lot of fun, and it is quite witty, and it is quite glib, and there's an enormous mean streak to some of the humour that I really love.
It sounds like then, given that we're in a slightly more mellow between the two holidays mood, that they're three not bad movies this week for us then.
No, they've definitely got quite a wide spectrum covered, I think, this week.
Let me pick your brains while you're on, Van. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and often you join us when I'm doing the show on TalkSport as well. What are your standout movies from last year, would you say? Have you got a couple of recommendations for us that people might have missed?
For me, I was a very big fan of Knives Out. That seems to be finding its audience now over Christmas. Ready or Not, I thought was a lot of bloodthirsty fun. Hobbs and Shaw, I thought was a really great summer actioner. Midsummer, I think, was a really great chiller. And to be honest, the movie Booksmart, I think, is the most unmissable one of the year.
Brilliant stuff, Van, as ever. Hugely grateful for your company this morning. That was Van Connor there, the main man when it comes to all matters movie-related here on Talk Radio. And, Van, where can people find your utterances and see you in animated form? Maybe not as a pigeon, though.
Maybe not as a pigeon, but you can find Animated Head Me over on the YouTube web series Me Movies every Friday, of course, early Friday mornings on TalkSport with yourself. We do the week's TV movie picks. And on Friday mornings as well on podcast platforms with Rebecca Purvett on Offscreen.
I've always thought it's odd when you say to people, find you in animated head form. For people who don't know, could you explain what that actually means? I mean, I love it when you do that, but you've turned yourself into a kind of animated character with a great big bonce, haven't you?
I have indeed. I made myself marginally better looking, I've got to admit.
That's Me Movies, it's Van Connor, our main man, talking to me, Paul Ross, right here on Talk Radio.
On DAB Digital...